Welcome back to LSMN Overtime. I'm Abby Arafine, and that's Lyndon Campbell.
To get started, we've got some exciting news from women's soccer. The Lady Marauders are moving on to the 5-6A Division State Championship, which will take place this Saturday in Georgetown. There, they'll take on Stafford High School out of Houston to compete for the state title. They got there by defeating Forney 2-0 this past Friday, and before that, surviving a 3-2 shootout over Prosper after double overtime wasn't enough to break the 0-0 tie. This miracle run the Lady Marauders are on looks to bring their second state title in the past 3 years. Good luck, ladies.
The Flower Mound Lady Jags took on the Coppell Cowgirls for the regional final. It was a tense game, with both teams putting up some incredible defense. Goalkeeper Addison Huber faced a ton of shots, including this great stop here. Huber gets another good save here to keep the game tied 0-0. In the second half, Flower Mound kept Coppell on the back foot until a good clear gave Coppell a position advantage. The ball bounces along here with Bella Mattingly trying to stop it with a header, but the high wind kept the ball going. Despite some good placement in the defense, Coppell was able to snipe this one into the net, finally putting a point on the scoreboard after 57 minutes. Flower Mound created some great opportunities but couldn't connect, and Coppell would eliminate Flower Mound 1-0.
Flower Mound Golf has found great success this season. Here's Aiden McGee with their story.
There's lots of golfers out there, but certain ones choose to play golf at Flower Mound.
Well, most of our players are really good junior golfers already, so they know how to prepare and practice for big tournaments. We really just stress competing and trying to reach our full potential, and we do that through practice and then just the experience of playing in a lot of big tournaments throughout the season. Gets us ready for district and now fortunately regionals and hopefully state.
I just kind of go out on the course like that we're playing at, and I just continuously go out there and practice and know that I know all the shots out there and make sure that I know what to do in difficult circumstances.
Mentally preparing, I just try to get in a calm, safe space, like usually just hang out with friends and people who support me to just like keep me calm and excited for the next day.
I usually get a lot of sleep the night before. I eat high protein foods and make sure I'm drinking a lot of water, and then I try to take it easy the day before, but the week leading up to the tournament I'm out practicing multiple hours.
Despite also having classwork, these players always make sure to find time for golf.
Honestly, it's really difficult because obviously there's a lot that needs to be put into golf and a lot that needs to be put into the academics aspect, but as long as I get all my work done and I go straight to the course, I feel like it's an easy balance.
You definitely have to have a good relationship with your teachers. It's important to communicate with them well and talk to them about, when you're going to be missing and how many days, and just make sure that you don't fall too far behind and stay on top of your work.
I do take hard classes, but I'm not pushing myself over the edge with schoolwork and stuff, so I'm just productive during my school day.
For this team, staying focused when the rounds get tough is what separates them from all the others.
They're challenged to go out and play well, and when they do have an off day or a rough tournament, all of them have come back and played really, really well after that, and I think that's a trait that shows mental toughness of our players and resiliency, and that's something that they all have, and it's fun to coach.
I think just clear your mind, don't think about the last few holes, just think about what's ahead of you. There's always a chance that you can prove yourself and you can just play better throughout the round.
I just try to take it one shot at a time. My coach told me something where he just said to pretend like you're teaching someone, like someone's alongside you on the course and you're teaching them, what shot you're going to hit next, or kind of talk it through in your head.
For LSMN Overtime, I'm Aiden McGee.
On Tuesday, Marcus and Flower Mound face off in the Mound Showdown. Marcus would get off to a fast start, scoring almost immediately on an RBI groundout in the first inning. Then moving to the top of the fourth, Marcus will hit a seemingly harmless groundout to shortstop, but a critical error by Flower Mound allowed Marcus to score 2 runs to boost their lead 3-0. In the bottom of the inning, Cooper Skinner would club a line drive into the right field corner, scoring 3 pivotal runs to tie the game at 3-3. However, the umpires ruled it was a balk by the Marcus pitcher, meaning that all the runners advanced and only 1 run was scored. The fans were very upset by the call. In the bottom of the 6th, Flower Mound would get one back on a sac fly from Trent Harvest. Connor Jennings would then sky one into a shallow left field, but it would be dropped by Marcus, allowing the tying run to score. The game would go into extra innings, where Jennings would walk it off to cap off a thrilling mound showdown win for the Jags by a final score of 4-3.
To another baseball matchup, Hebron took on Louisville on Tuesday night. Hebron would score an early run on an RBI triple by infielder Luke Sharp. An error by Louisville would then allow another run to score. Freshman Landon Bonner would then drive in another run on an RBI single into the corner, before Quinn Bergman would continue pouring it on with another RBI. Then, Caleb Kilbert would break it wide open with a double into the gap, scoring 2 more runners for Hebron. Later on, Bergman would pop one up, but an error by Louisville would allow another Hebron runner to score. Hebron would go on to win with a final score of 10-0.
Alumni, get your raffle tickets ready.
For 5A basketball in LISD, the Colony lost a close one to Frisco Lone Star 4-3. Looking ahead for baseball, everyone will play the game 2 of their district series from Tuesday night. Flower Mound will travel to Marcus for the second game in the Mound Showdown series. Hebron and Louisville will go head-to-head, and the Colony will compete with Frisco Lone Star.
Now, over to our virtual studio with Alex Estrada for this week's Spotlight.
This week's Spotlight is Jamison Mayfield of Marcus High School baseball. Halfway through district play, Mayfield is batting .467 with an OPS of 1,400. Jamison has shown off his power too, hitting a home run in a game against Hebron. Through 7 games, Jamison has helped lead Marcus to a strong 6-1 record in district play. Their only loss came in the Mound Showdown walk-off we showed you earlier. Look for Mayfield and the Marauders to continue their strong play against Flower Mound tomorrow night as Marcus looks to answer for Tuesday's loss. That's this week's Spotlight. Who will it be next time? Back over to Abby with some softball results from around LISD.
For softball, it was blowouts all around. Marcus beat Geyer 16-0. Louisville lost to Coppell 16-0. Hebron took down Little Elm 10-0. Flower Mound completely destroyed Braswell 17-2. And the Colony decimated Newman Smith 19-2. Coming up in softball tomorrow, Flower Mound and Marcus will square off for another Mound Showdown. Hebron and Louisville will go head-to-head, and the Colony will face Highland Park.
Now let's head over to the Major League Minute, where Alex Estrada has some updates on professional sports here in Dallas.
This week in Dallas sports, the Mavericks have clinched their spot in the play-in despite the loss to the Lakers last night and Luka's emotional return to Dallas. They'll face off against the Kings next Wednesday for the right to move on to the 8-seed game in the tournament. In baseball, the Rangers have had a very up-and-down start. While a majority of the bats have been cold, pitching has been a bright spot, carrying them to a 9-4 start, including a complete game shutout by Nate Eovaldi. Unfortunately, the injury bug has begun to strike the Rangers with Jack Leiter, Josh Young, and most recently Wyatt Langford having hit the IL so far in the season. Moving over to hockey, the Dallas Stars clinched their spot in the playoffs for the 4th straight season and with 4 games remaining, have a slim chance to take the #1 seed in the Central Division and possibly have the most points in the NHL. The Stars look to have top defenseman Miro Heiskanen make his return for the playoffs as he has been out with a knee injury since late January. Switching things up with soccer, FC Dallas' season is underway and it's been a very 50-50 start. The club is 6th in MLS standings with 11 points and a record of 3-2-2 in their first 7 games. Their most recent game against Atlanta United ended in a draw with Dallas' only goal being scored by Petar Musa. That's your Major League Minute. Dallas brought the big leagues, and now we're back to the hometown heroes of LISD. Over to you, Lyndon.
Esports is a non-traditional sport that was introduced into LISD in 2020, having been growing more and more over the years. We had Jake Hollis go and find out about their story about the Hebron Esports Club.
This is the Hebron Esports team. While esports isn't a UL competition, this club takes it just as seriously.
So that day-to-day looks different based on what students are participating in and how much they're participating. There are multiple leagues that we participate in, and so it could be anywhere from students are more casual and just playing with friends. It could be more intensive, each team having their own practice schedule, scrim schedule, game schedule. It really just depends on who you are, what roster you're on, and what title you participate in.
Just day by day, what we try and do is, especially for this class, since we have the opportunity for this class, we're trying to build more team synergy, and then we can also go over things that we could most improve on during the games that we play throughout the week, and then we can VOD review them, and then we can look at those and come up with situations that if it does arise again, we can come up with a solution that we can alternatively use, or we can go with different compositions that we can use throughout the games and different strats that we can use. During VOD reviews, what we do is we'll usually have 2 to 3 games per week, and what we'll do is with not just the varsity team but also the JV team, because they also have a lot to learn. They can learn a lot from what we play through. So what we do is we sit down, look at one screen, and what we can do is go through a play-by-play with each team fight or even skirmishes that happened during the fight and see what went well, and then talk about that and see what we did wrong and talk about that as well, and figure out what we can do better for the next match.
Scheduling a match for the club comes with its own rules and guidelines.
So we have different organizations and leagues that we participate in, and those all have different platforms. So I get the teams' rosters together, get them signed up online, and then the platforms really sort of take care of the scheduling piece for them, in that they either queue up and get an opponent there, or they already have a predetermined opponent that they coordinate with and have a set match time and play with. So the organizations that we partner with really help facilitate the competitive piece in terms of, hey, Valorant is every Tuesday at 5 o'clock. Rocket League's every Thursday at 5 o'clock. They set that all up and set up the scheduling piece. I have to just get all that together, put in, and set it up for them.
From humble beginnings to a now state-winning program, the Hebron Esports Club keeps on growing every year.
A neighbor of mine, some kids came to him and said, hey, we'd like to play League of Legends and we want to play for Hebron. Jaden Borum was the person who started the esports club, joined it, and said, let's figure out how to make this happen. And then that year, Valorant was released, which added more to the competitive scene. And it was just like a snowball, right? You had 5 kids who wanted to play. Those 5 kids turned into 10 kids who wanted to play. People see that what's happening, they see success, then you get more and more rosters, more and more titles, and it just continues to grow from there. It's exploded. We started with a couple of kids who wanted to do it, and like I said, now I've got dozens of rosters. We just qualified 33 students for state. Last year we qualified 2 different teams for Valorant to nationals and 1 individual competitor for nationals. And so we're continuing to grow. More students want to play, more students want to be involved. And so everything keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The competitive scene gets bigger, more schools sign on. So competition increases, new titles come in. We had the release of Marvel Rivals this year, which brings in a whole new wave of students that want to play. And then success continues to grow. Students want to be a part of that. So the organization keeps on growing.
For LSMN Overtime, I'm Jake Hollis.
And now, over to Alex for this week's Grad Star.
This week's Grad Star is Marcus alumni Tori Edwards, now a sophomore playing for LSU's softball team. In her first season as a starter, Edwards has been nothing short of elite in the batter's box, batting .434 in 39 games. Not only has she been batting for average, but she has shown to be more than capable batting for power, hitting an astounding 14 home runs with a slugging of .894. Tori has been consistently able to bring in runs as well, driving in 12 RBIs in her last 6 games. With an OBP over 500 and the ability to field at multiple positions as a utility player, Tori Edwards has become one of the most valuable hitters in college softball. If you have a Grad Star you would like us to highlight, let us know on X. For LSMN Overtime, I'm Alex Estrada.
Congratulations to Hebron Baseball head coach Corey Farah, husband of our own Lindsey Farah, assistant principal here at Tech East, on his 100th win at Hebron this past week in a win over Louisville. That's all for this week's episode. Thanks for tuning in.
I'm Abiata Fine. That's Lyndon Campbell. See you next time, right here on Overtime.